Ignition sequence start. 6, 5.
It's one small step for man.
2, 1.
Everything is go here.
Welcome to Stay Relevant, my wandering conversations with interesting people. I'm Mike Savola.
Hey, this is Houston. We're copying.
The Eagle has landed.
Welcome back. My guest today is Mark Ruppert, a filmmaker, creator, and co-executive producer of the 48-Hour Film Project. Hey Mark, thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
You're from D.C., a D.C. native, and the thing I want to talk about mostly today is, 48-Hour Film Project. It's coming up on 15 years.
15 years, exactly right. We got our start right here in D.C. back in 2001. And for those of your listeners who don't know, 48-Hour Film Project is an international filmmaking competition where teams have 48 hours to write, shoot, and edit a short film. And that very first year, we didn't know if it was even possible if somebody could write and shoot complete a short film in just 2 days. So it was really a grand experiment. And I met with a few of my filmmaking friends and told them the crazy idea, encouraged them to put teams together. I put a team together, and we gave this thing a try. And the exciting part of it is how much the filmmakers love doing it. And so here we are 15 years later with more than 30,000 films having been created in cities around the world.
That's pretty amazing. And I remember the first year, because Uta Goldman and I were working, I think it was at Moondog, or actually at Atlantic at that point, doing development stuff. And we were going to do a show on it, so we kind of followed your teams around. That was kind of fun. That show never went anywhere, but and you and I think, sort of stayed on the same plane. But you've rocketed into fame with this thing, and it seems to have taken off. And it's what made you think of it? You were a filmmaker already. You were doing short films. You were doing. Were you doing corporate stuff? Or where were
Exactly.
you?
We had my own small production company, do a handful of corporate promo videos, and had made a couple of short films with Langston. And so I had read an article about two women who had started one of the very first 24-hour play competitions. And that sounded so cool to me, and I thought it would work for video, and I immediately knew we would need more time. So 48 hours was the concept. And basically I sat on the idea for a couple of years, and it wasn't until 2001 until we actually tried it. Liz and I had completed a couple of short films. I was looking for a new project, and so this came along. The funny thing is that it wouldn't really have been possible prior to 2001 to do it, because although the computer technology and the computer-based editing programs were heading in the right direction, it wasn't really till 2001 when they were accessible to enough people. So 2001 was just a confluence of several factors that made it happen.
And was that part of your decision, or it just kind of happened that way?
Just kind of happened that way. Like I said, we had finished our second short film and was really scouting around for something new to do. And so I enlisted Liz to be one of the people on my team. And then it was a year later, in 2002, when we decided to make a business of it. And we went from just Washington, D.C. the first year to 6 cities in 2002.
I've been growing ever since. That's pretty amazing. I didn't realize that the growth happened so quickly. Mm-hmm. Did you know after a year that this everybody loves this, it's really possible, we really got something here, let's do it? It sounds like you kind of...
Well, we knew that people loved it. We envisioned it at that point as just something fun to do regularly in D.C. What happened the following year is that someone who had just moved here from Atlanta said, hey, they'd really love this in Atlanta, let's all go down and run it there. And so we went there, and that was a success, and that's when it snowballed. Say, hey, let's take it to New York, let's take it to L.A., and in addition to those cities, we did Boston and Austin. So those were our original 6 cities.
And when did you decide to do like a Filmapalooza, kind of like bring all the cities together for a grand competition with the winners. And then when did Cannes come into the whole thing? How did that develop?
So you're referring to our annual festival and awards weekend, Filmapalooza, which happens end of February, beginning of March each year. We did that pretty quickly because after the first, that 2002 tour of 6 cities, we realized, hey, wouldn't it be fun to have an overall winner and give a trophy to that winner? So we actually just did something here in DC, held the screening at the Goethe Institute. We had teams coming from our 6 cities. Only problem is we had a foot of snow the night of our screening, so that eliminated a few of the attendees, but a team from Atlanta won the very first competition. And so it was an informal event for the first 4 or 5 years, and it wasn't until 2007 that we named it Filmapalooza. The fun thing about it is we've held it at a lot of great festivals. We held it at South by Southwest in 2004, at the Miami International Film Festival a couple of times, at CineQuest in San Jose a few times, and now we've grown to the size where it's our own event. So we had 500 people in Los Angeles this past year.
That's pretty crazy, and it's in Los Angeles, which is also a pretty cool thing.
Right.
And you hold the big event at the Man's Chinese Theater.
That's right.
How does that I mean, that if you're a filmmaker, that looks really, really good, I'm thinking. It sounds like a big deal. Is it as big as it seems?
It's a pretty big deal, to be in Hollywood, the mecca of filmdom. That's a big deal to filmmakers, and so that's why they travel as far as they do to attend Filmapalooza. At this point, Filmapalooza does rotate around. We were in New Orleans the year before, and we're still figuring out where we're going to be this year. But LA will definitely always be one that we come back to regularly. And that brings me to the next exciting thing we do for the filmmakers, and that's the Cannes Film Festival. This year, for the 8th year in a row, we've partnered with them and done a presentation of our very best, about 12 films at Cannes. And that, again, giving the filmmakers the opportunity to be in one location where everybody from the film world is for that week is just amazing. We had 70 of our filmmakers in attendance this year, and the thrill of being there, combined with the networking and the opportunities to see and meet industry leaders, is quite special.
How did that develop? Did you go one year and then you said, hey, you know what, there's room for us here? Or
no, I just reached out to Cannes, the festival itself, and started conversations. And 2007 was the very first year, and they were open to it, and so we thought it was a great idea, and now it's one of the hallmarks of what we do, because the filmmakers are excited that potentially their film could be one of the ones selected to go.
What do you think makes this so appealing to filmmakers?
I think there's several factors. One is that filmmakers, and I know I was guilty of this, would do a lot of thinking and talking about the next project, and we're always waiting for the right script, or we're waiting for the perfect actor or actress to be available, or that the DP can make your schedule. 48 hours throws all that out the window. There are no excuses. All you need is one weekend. Gather whatever cast, crew, friends, professionals you can together, and at the end of 2 days, you have a film. So I think one of the appeal is that you don't have to put a ton of prep into it, and it's not going to be this project that stretches on forever. It's very finite. Another thing is that it's just a ton of fun. People really have a great time with the creativity, with being with their friends. The 48-hour film project has inspired at least a dozen marriages. And we hear all the time of people who make plans for their vacation so they can fly back to their original city and join up with their friends to make another 48-hour film. So it's a lot, that aspect of it is very appealing. And finally, what we do that's different than just about every other competition is that we give you a screening of your film on a big screen in your local theater. And there is no better feedback than being in an audience, seeing your movie in front of everybody, and hearing, did my film work? Did people laugh where they were supposed to laugh, et cetera, et cetera. And it's filmmakers love it.
That's an amazing feeling. It really is. I mean, just even having something on television is the same way. Not quite as live, you know, or a different kind of a thing, but it's this thing like, wow, I didn't. It's not just playing on my VCR or my DVD or my computer. Somebody else thought enough of it to display it. The cost is relatively low for this, I'm thinking, you know. It seems like anybody could do this. I mean, you still need the resources, but the entry fee is surprisingly low. How do you keep it so low? I mean, you have 4 people on staff, right? Right. And you have all these cities you got to administrate. It just seems like it's a ton of work. I'm just not sure how you do that. But is that a conscious effort? Just to
Well, we do try to keep it as low as we possibly can. And it's been at this price range, I want to say, for about 5 years. So
you're saying it's about to go up?
No, I'm not saying it's not going up. How about that? It's we rely on the entry fees, of course. We also get a percentage of the theater revenues when we screen it at theaters, and then we're always have to have our corporate sponsors. So this year we have Pond 5, which is a media sponsor, and then we also have Wright Brothers script writing software. So that helps us pay the bills, and we're always looking for additional sponsors. We've also, over the years, done some branded content competitions. So we've worked with Visa, we've worked with Sam Adams, we've worked with a few foreign brands, and we take our very best filmmakers, and they make a 48-hour film, but this time incorporating a Visa card or some other prop or line of dialogue.
It's really product placement.
Yep, exactly.
Nice, nice. And you mentioned Pond 5. You know, I've been familiar with Pond 5. It's, you know, it's a great resource. They recently came out with the stock footage, the archival footage.
Right, the free archival.
For free. It's, you know, not royalty free, but absolutely free. Yeah. In fact, my podcast, the video version, uses that in the opening. Okay. But it's a great resource. So they're great people to partner with. How is that working? What do the filmmakers get from that?
So the filmmakers, first they have an opportunity to use 100 different music clips in their 48-hour film. So this is just a free special site that Pond 5 has set up. Then after their filmmaking weekend, they get a $25 coupon that they can use on any of their projects in the future. And then the 3 top winners in each city will get a $100 coupon.
Have any of your filmmakers gone on to do like really big things? Anybody we'd know offhand?
Don't know that we have any name people yet.
But they're successful though.
But we definitely have successful people. We definitely have a handful of actors who have gone on. We've had cameos from famous actors. We've had people who, that first team that I mentioned that won Atlanta, they ended up making a film with Luke Perry and Leanne Rimes, and it ran on TNT for about a month in regular rotation several years ago. So my favorite story is a guy who lived out in LA. He had moved from North Carolina to Los Angeles, and he was working in the industry, but very low level. And he, at that point, said, you know, I've got a nice life. This is my fate in life. And he gets a call one summer from his friend in Greensboro who says, hey, I'm going to do the 48-hour film project. I want you to come back and direct. And he says, great, I'm going to do it. And they do it, and they make a pretty good film, one of our top 10. We take it to Cannes. He goes back to LA and starts showing his film around, and within 6 months he was directing for Comedy Central.
Nice.
So it's we definitely have seen people use the 48 hours as a stepping stone to bigger things.
And there are a lot of repeat teams.
Yeah.
One that comes to mind from the Peer Awards, Tohu Bohu and Bill Coughlin.
Right.
He enters a team all the time, and they do some really good work. But not only that, they also, a lot of his films are after the competition, he'll take them and they'll recut them to a larger, grander script, maybe rewrite the script a little bit, make it larger. How prevalent is that, and how do the rules play, or how does the competition like that? Is it something to encourage?
Yeah, we encourage it. I don't think that enough people do it because I think that within a 48-hour time frame, there are going to be some teams who just nail it, but it is 48 hours. So the likelihood that your film can be improved in some way or expanded, maybe you've got a great idea that really would fit better in a longer format, I think that the people should take their films and expand them and make them as good as they possibly can. I remember one film from one of the early years, and what I didn't mention at the outset of our conversation is, as part of the 48-hour requirements, the teams must include a character, a prop, and a line of dialogue within their film, and it's something that we assign to all of the teams at the Friday night kickoff. Well, this one film in New York was a great film, but the scene that had the character in it just brought the whole film down. So those people could very easily have decided, hey, we're gonna, now that it's after the competition, we'll just delete that scene and try to do something more with the film.
So let's talk about how it works. Briefly, of course, you register, you get your team together, you meet at the designated location. Is that set every year, or is it kind of rotating?
Where we do a kickoff?
Where you do a kickoff?
Yeah, well, for a long, long time we did it at the Warehouse Theater, and that's no longer in business, unfortunately, so we found a new location this year at Ultra Bar in D.C. But in each city there's a location for the kickoff, and teams show up, and the first thing they do is pull a genre out of a hat. So they have no idea which one of our 14 genres they're going to get until right before the clock starts ticking. So that gives an added sense of pressure to the teams. And then we announce, as I said, the character, the prop, and the line of dialogue. It's up to the film teams how they want to incorporate them in their film. The character does not need to be the star, just has to appear somewhere in the film. Traditionally, we give both a male and female character, and so the team has a choice which way they want to go, and the character always includes an occupation. And so one of my favorites from D.C. in the past was Rosie or Roosevelt Adams, president, and the team could decide what he or she was president of. It could be president of the United States or president of a fan club. So that's one example. The prop could be anything from a set of keys to a cell phone. We've pretty much run the gamut on those. And the line of dialogue, same thing. We've had a wide range over the years.
What was the first one? Do you remember?
The very first one was something along the lines of, I made you who you are, and I can just as easily break you.
That's right.
So we can thank Michael O'Sullivan from the Washington Post for coming up with that line.
We have, you're in 130 cities. A lot of these are foreign cities.
Right.
Are those films in English? Are they subtitled? How do you deal with that? Is there a guideline for that? Are they judged differently because of that?
No, so how we do it is that in each of our cities we have local judges determine the city winner. And so that is done in their local language. We actually don't have any requirements of them being in any specific language for the local competition. However, once we know who the city winners are, those teams, if their film is not in English, must submit a version with English subtitles, and there's no time limit on that. And so our judges at the end of the year are judging films in English.
And how long do you think this can last? Is it every year an adventure? Are you getting tired of it? Or
Well,
what?
I'll tell you what's never tiring, and that is seeing the work of the filmmakers. Because each year there's something innovative, fresh, something we haven't seen before that just blows me away. So it's just a lot of fun to see everything that comes in. What the worst part about my job is that I've gone from being a filmmaker to being an event producer, so that I haven't gotten behind the camera now in a while. One of the new things that we've done successfully in the Netherlands for the past 2 years is a 48-day feature film project. And so our Dutch producer has collected 4 or 5 teams who agreed to make a feature-length film in those 48 days. And he very wisely partners with a local film festival. So on the 48th day, the film will screen in the festival. So there's no wiggle room in the deadline. They must finish by the 48th day. And the exciting thing about both films is that they both won awards going up against other films made without a deadline.
That's very intriguing. Do you think you may expand that here in the future, or expand it to other areas?
Yeah, we're definitely looking at it. It's something that personally I'm very interested in. One of the other things we've done in the last couple of years, because it's not every filmmaker. For many filmmakers, they like doing it once a year and then resting for 11 months. But there are quite a few filmmakers who are eager to have a second opportunity. And so what we've done in some of our cities is had a special horror film competition. It typically happens in the Halloween time frame. And this year, at the end of September, we are going to do something special in D.C., which is a politics and comedy 48-hour film competition. And so how this one will work is when you draw the genre out of a hat, your piece of paper will have a political subgenre and a comedy subgenre, and you get to choose which one you want. So, for example, you might pick your piece of paper may say scandal or slapstick, and you would pick what you wanted to do. So.
Sometimes those two are the same.
And sometimes they're exactly the same. And combining genres is always encouraged.
Well, great. What do you see happening in the future besides the 48-hour or 48-day feature film festival?
Well, there's several different avenues. Certainly what we've got is working and people love it. The growth of Filmapalooza, I think, is something that we're working on. Can that be expanded into something that not only the city-winning filmmakers are interested in? Can we add some courses as part of it, seminars as part of it, make it a 5-6 day festival and get more attendance? So that's something we're looking at. Certainly lots and lots of our filmmakers have moved or want to move to feature films, so that's something that we want to figure out how we can help them do. And then one very interesting thing that we've been doing but haven't been actively pursuing, and that is Production Studio 48. And what PS 48 is we've had companies come to us who need to have shoots in different parts of the world, and since we have our network of filmmakers, we very easily hook them up with somebody who can do something. So we've had quite a few French companies have gone to our Paris producer, and through us, we've had teams in South Africa, Japan, and the US shoot for this French company.
Nice.
And so we're always looking for those opportunities too. Anything we can do to get more work for our filmmakers, we're happy to do it.
Nice. Well, Mark, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm so glad you came by, and happy to be part of the podcast.
Hopefully we'll be sitting down with you in another 15 years to see how the 48-day feature film project goes.
There we go. There we go.
Mark Ruppert has been my guest today, filmmaker, creator, co-executive producer of the 48-Hour Film Project. Thanks again, Mark.
Okay, bye-bye.
The podcast is Stay Relevant, wandering conversations with interesting people. Original music by Popmark Media on the web at popmarkmedia.com. See and hear more on my website at mikecipolla.com. Until next time, try and stay relevant.